Like, this is my truth. I don't expect everybody to agree with me, but I'm going to speak what feels right for me. And then people are going to align with you, the ones that are right there with you in that same vibrational level, that same frequency. The ones that need to hear it are going to find you, and you are not. The ones that do have those harsh judgments or have, that you're crazy or this is, evil or whatever definition that we do here, remember that people's judgments are only but a reflection of their own fears. This is where their
Mhm.
beliefs and all comes in, and it is never personal. It is what they've collected, and they're just not in that awareness to see a bigger perspective, or maybe they never will, because not everybody's meant to
Welcome
awaken.
back to Empath Spiritual Awakening. Today's guest is Sheree Buckman. She lives in Michigan and she's a mother, podcast host, and she's been a medium for about 3 years. I first want to say thank you for joining me on this show.
No, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I think this is amazing. How
Yeah,
fun!
yeah, yeah. I'm excited to get to know you on a deeper level. And I'd love to start with, how did your spiritual journey start?
It was a definitely like an unraveling of what happened. So, it started for me. I like to say this started for me after I had my second child, my daughter, and that was in 2016. And I think little by little, so much started happening, and it, just like any other spiritual awakening, it's very overwhelming. And what you felt was true no longer seemed true anymore. And it was this time where I had to go like within. We had a major move. I thought I was going through postpartum, after having my daughter. And um, depression hit. I mean, there was so much happening. Later, what happened is I started going through this process is that it kind of like reactivated a few things. I did started to understand after a very long journey, because this is actually a very long story of how this unbecoming happened and how I became who I am today, because I
Mhm.
have a background in social work. So I have a degree in human services. I have worked for CPS. I've worked for private adoption agencies. I have this big professional background. And when I started going through this process for myself of digging deep into my own personal truths and weeding out the false beliefs and finding out who I am and really getting into, I have had experiences, with seeing things since I was a child, things that used to scare me. I never understood. I wished it away. And, during that period of time after my daughter, with everything going on, everything just kind of like re-exploded. It exploded. Like my senses were tenfold all of a sudden. Now I understand this again was all part of that. Like my sensitivities would skyrocket. So I am an empath and I've always been. I've always known that. So I tune in very easily to other people and I used to always take it on. Now I understand, how to protect myself and keep that separated. But then the mediumship thing, and it went through this whole series of this time of, well, what makes me so special? Like those are people on TV now. There's shows about mediums. I'm like, I'm not that special. And there's a lot of things that happened, and my journey led me down a self-healing journey. That was my process. So I had to go in and I was working on myself. And as I did so, I started accepting this part of me. And I decided that if I am to fully embrace this piece of me, then I'm going to do what I have always known I'm meant here to do, which is to help other people. So within a long process, I became the about healing medium, and that's what I do now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so going back to when you had your daughter and then
Mhm.
everything kind of exploded, what was that experience like, and like why was it depression that kind of started your healing journey?
And what I understand now, because now it's part, I help other people through their awakenings. And through
Mhm.
my journey, that was just mine. Mine led me
Yeah.
into this explosion of, because I wasn't living my deepest truths. I wasn't aligned with who I felt
Mm.
inside, which led me to depression, which led me, because
Mm.
I was disaligned. I wasn't. And I didn't know that until I went through this process. And when we're talking about self-healing, in that journey, what I went through, we are talking about going really deep. We're talking about letting go of childhood traumas. We're letting go of these false beliefs and limiting beliefs, not only what has been imposed, what was imposed on me, but it was also what I imposed on myself. And it was coming into an awareness. And I always promote that. Look, and I'm going to put a little piece in here because it is such a huge part in anybody's self-healing journey, that don't ever look back and feel guilt or shame or you should be further or you're not where you want to be, because awareness, the fact that you are aware of where you're at, or that you have this trauma, or you have these pieces that need to be healed or work to be done, that is massive. That is huge. And that is one of the most important steps in this journey, is awareness. So just throwing that out there.
That's so beautiful. I've definitely struggled with, I don't want to say I still struggle, but recently just like regret of like, damn, like if I knew this in college, I'd be
Mhm.
doing something completely different. And it's been hard for me to just like let that go and let that, like, I was where I was and that's okay. And I am here now. And it's like, what can I do now? Like, what am I going to look back
Yes.
on and be like, damn it, dang, I wish I did that then, and just start doing it today. So like I like really strive every day to fully live, especially in alignment too. Because looking
Mhm.
back, like, you hit the nail on the head about, I used to be depressed or upset or resentful because I wasn't living in alignment. And
Mhm.
for like the longest time, I was doing a lot of childhood trauma healing.
Mhm.
But then it actually got to a point at actually my most recent job. I started this YouTube channel over a year ago and I didn't tell anyone. And like I kind of just kept all of my stuff and spirituality to myself. And I realized that no one was telling me I couldn't talk about my YouTube channel. No one was telling me who I could
Mhm.
and couldn't be. I was putting self-limiting beliefs and structures on myself of like, they're gonna reject me if I do this. And so it was like this
Mhm.
like next phase or like a phase of spiritual growth is when it's like time to like look at what we're doing to ourselves now and not so much of like going back to what happened in our childhood. And that's like how it felt for me.
Actually, I have so much to say about that, and I think that's beautiful and wonderful. I think it's fantastic when you can be vulnerable and talk about this, because first of all, I am always healing. I will never be done. None of us will ever be done, because this is
Yeah.
part of our entire experience of being here on this plane, right? It's one of many. But as you were talking about, this comes up a lot. So I also do an awakening class. I do a workshop, and that was one of the big key pieces that everyone spoke about. They're so far in their lives. If I would have known this earlier, if
Mm,
this would have happened earlier, right? But the thing is that it's happening in the exact moment it's supposed to. Because here's what I learned after a long period of time: we needed all the experiences that we went through that led us to where we are now, because it helps us in the understanding of who we are. Because again, I can go in 100 million directions with this, because number one, we have to talk about our soul planning, what we chose to come into this lifetime to achieve, right? So as we're coming in, we needed to have certain experiences, including the traumas, because with
mhm,
that, we're learning how to release karmic lesson and karmic ties. Or number one, it honestly brings us into that ego, because again, it's part of the experience to be here and living this life, is to be in the ego. That's part of the human experience. So how do we deal with it? How do we get ourselves out of it? What choices are we going to make to heal ourselves? But you needed all of those pieces to bring you into that awakening, and you chose the spot where it would be. Not the exact moment, but there was a big period of time that it could be, depending on when you would make these choices to get there. But now that I look back at where I am now, because number one, I never in my life, as a child, saying, when I grow up, I want to be a medium. Like, that scared me to death, because again, I had a lot of false beliefs that was associated with the work that I do, right? So I had a lot that I had to work through. But you're exactly where you need to be, and you're going through it when you need to go through it, because you are bringing all of those beautiful experiences with you, because it brings compassion. It brings all these pieces, and then if you can go through your own healing, that is how we inspire and how we help others, by doing the work ourselves. So you're in it in the perfect moment. You
Right,
mentioned
because
something else that I feel is another big piece for anybody who is an empath or coming through an awakening or aligning with their truths. There's always this big factor. And you spoke about it, Lonnie. It was about aligning and expressing who you are. right? And not telling anybody about your YouTube channel or about spirituality,
Mm.
because again, we bring this fear in here, this fear of judgments. But it's not only that. So this was a recent lesson I had to work through. Ooh, and I'm getting chills everywhere. I'm supposed to talk about it, so it gets me chills. Um, that we bring these past lives, okay, these cords from our past lives, where we have lived other lives, where we have, spoke about healing or spirituality in a way, no matter what direction it went, and it was really bad. So again, we look at history of mankind, right? So when you spoke about these things in history's past, you were declared a witch. It was evil. People have been, oh, like not only just outcast, but like severely
Mhm.
murdered, maltreated, the whole works. So we bring some of these cords with us into this one, but this is a lifetime where we are safe to talk about this. There is massive awakenings happening everywhere, and now that you're finding, which I believe you can
Wow.
see this with us, the more we talk about it, right? The more we come in alignment with all these other people and other people that need to hear it. And we're inspiring and helping others to break down these old walls, because this is an expression of love. This is healing. These are high vibrational topics we're talking about, which is aligning in our deepest truths and creating peace for ourselves.
Yeah, you just reminded me that it really is such a beautiful time that we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the age of also the internet, being able to talk and communicate with so many people all over the world instantly, and like this much safer time to actually express our spirituality and what's happening to us. And I think we're less likely to be judged as crazy because there's other people who are going through the exact same thing. And we do get to experience like how, like when I was younger, I was totally asleep, just going throughout my
Mm-hmm.
daily life. And then like to experience the awakening of, wait a second, what is this life? What is this world? What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we came for like these moments of awakening that are so precious.
They are. Well, we say precious now since we've been through it, but when you're in it, it is not.
Yeah.
It is chaotic and it's
Yeah.
overwhelming, and the experience is different for everybody. So, and I think it's important for to acknowledge this for people who are going through it. They're like, "Mine is not beautiful. Is this what it is? It must be different." Because a lot of times, because you're questioning your own sanity and you're questioning yourself,
Uh-huh.
and I love what you just said about being able now with this age of technology, and we're able to express ourselves bigger, and that
Mhm.
people aren't going to see us as crazy. And what's beautiful and what I've learned, and also because again, all these messages too, I am so guided. I am on always download, getting from my guides and from higher levels, is just if you were aligned, that means with yourself. If you were speaking your truth, no matter how crazy it sounds, right? But you're speaking your truth in the most loving manner. Like, this is my truth. I don't expect everybody to agree with me, but I'm going to speak what feels right for me. And then people are going to align with you, the ones that are right there with you in that same vibrational level, that same frequency. The ones that need to hear it are going to find you, and you are not. The ones that do have those harsh judgments or have, that you're crazy or this is, evil or whatever definition that we do here, remember that people's judgments are only but a reflection of their own fears. This is where their
Mhm.
beliefs and all comes in, and it is never personal. It is what they've collected, and they're just not in that awareness to see a bigger perspective, or maybe they never will, because not everybody's meant to awaken. Some people we have, think about our evolvement as souls, right? We've heard the term like that seems like a very evolved soul, or it's an old soul. Well, we are all at different levels there, and you can tell by the people within. And those awakening, you are a more evolved soul. You plan to awaken because now you are someone who is here to do some work for mankind, and not to put pressure on anybody, but it is about speaking and doing beautiful things. But it doesn't have to be in this line of what we talk about, being in, talking about spirituality or these concepts or being a medium or whatever it may be. But this goes for nurses and doctors and teachers and therapists and all of those, because it's just understanding and leading with compassion and love and allowing people a safe place to be them because as mankind, we've evolved. We've gone through this a lot over these past few hundred years. We've gone from, caveman times where it was just, basic needs to meet and you will do anything to get it, whether it means to hurt anybody or exile. Or, we're talking about we've gone through slavery and abolishing that and women's rights and gender rights and sexual orientation. This is evolving. We're getting rid of these barriers and boundaries and limitations we've put on mankind because this is only a human experience that has that. Outside of this, because again, only the human experience has the ego, and the ego creates the limitations. But outside of this, we're all exactly the same. We don't have a gender, we don't have a color, we don't have we are light of vibrations. That's it. The only difference we have is a vibrational difference, but we are not overpowering anybody or like, mine's bigger than yours or my light's more bright, brighter than yours. It's not like that. We are always helping each other. Let me help you get to this stage. Come with me. We are grabbing each other's hands and we are supporting each other because that's the experience outside of this life. You can see I can keep going all day. I get really passionate and I'll keep going. So if you need to interrupt me, you just tell me and I will stop. Which is why I have a
Yes, I
podcast too,
love
because
it.
I
I
can't
love
stop
it.
talking.
One thing that came up and it keeps coming up, so I want to talk about it, is boundaries
Mm.
and how your experience throughout your life being an empath. And then I guess, like, did you always have really good boundaries or did you kind of have to learn that as you went on?
No, I had horrible boundaries. Oh my goodness. It is still actually I love this question and I do laugh because no, I absolutely never had good boundaries. Growing up as an empath, I think that I struggled a lot. I had a lot of anxiety. I held because that is a side effect of being an empath. Those without boundaries, you're going to have a lot of anxiety because you're collecting the energy from other people and you're taking it as your own and it's not supposed to be yours. You're supposed to let it go, right? We can see it, other people's emotions, whatever they're spewing out, right? We can see it and acknowledge it, but we're not supposed to take it on. Again, it takes awareness to understand that. So it's okay if you're
Mhm.
just understanding that. So don't beat yourself up. It's a process. But this has been a very long journey. And honestly, it's only been in very recent years I have been learning this. And believe it or not, the one who really started me in understanding boundaries is my husband, who is not like awake, but he's the most supportive being ever. And I love him so much. Um, But he's the one who taught me. He's like, "Why do you let people do that?" And it didn't click to me, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he brought that awareness to me, and then I started to
Wow.
understand, okay. And of course, the hardest place to put boundaries is with family, right? We gotta learn that,
Mhm.
in the family, but it's a practice. Boundaries is a practice, and you start learning how to do it by you have to start small. It is by learning how to say no and letting it be no. A boundary is saying no without an explanation, right? We don't have to. As an empath, we always want to give excuses or explanations because we want people to understand it. We need to push that out. You, as an empath, are not responsible for the emotions or the reactions of other people. And we automatically do because we
That
feel
has
it.
been so hard for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. That I was just about to say that. I have realized how I would maybe like avoid trying to hurt someone because I can feel it. Like
Uh-huh.
it's yeah. Keep going, sorry.
No, it's great. No, thank you, because it became a very powerful notion for me once I completely understood this part that because I am a natural caregiver and I'm an empath, so I automatically am thinking 3 steps ahead. I know how people are going to react, so I don't want to do it this way. I can do it all because I can handle it because I don't need this explosion here or this explosion here, reactions by others. We don't want to feel it because it's gross and it's icky and it's really heavy. We don't want that. Um, so we start taking it on for ourselves. Here's the powerful
Mhm.
piece. By doing that, you are not allowing the other people to understand how to navigate life's experiences. So we are softening things for other people. We don't want to give them hardship or say no or all of these things. So we take it all in. We're doing it all. Now we're getting overworked. We are exhausted. We are getting burnt out. We are covered in anxiety and stress and all the things. but we're taking the lessons away from other people. And it's not healthy for us too. It's not healthy on both sides. So we have to get to a place to understand that even if they explode and they might not be happy or it's even negative towards us, we have to give that energy back to the other person because that's theirs. That's not ours. That's not our responsibility in any way. One of the biggest key factors is an empath that I hope you understand. Just because you can feel it doesn't mean you heal it. Your priority is yourself, because that is actually how we heal other people, is by doing the work ourselves, because we're going to inspire and we're going to show people how to do it for themselves. It's that whole phrase. You can teach them, you can give a man a fish or teach a man a fish,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's that. So we're not going to do the work for other people. We're going to give it back and we're going to let them figure it out. And if they need to have a massive explosion and temper tantrum and take a week or whatever they need to process what they need to, we're going to stand in our energy. And there's so much you can do for this. I have actually an empath workshop coming up. I start registration next month. But there's so much you can do for this. But it is about teaching people. We're going to give that back to them and we're going to let them deal with it. We're only going to focus on ourselves. And we're just going to send love. We have no hard feelings. We're going to send love to it, but we need to protect ourselves. So stick with our choices, start living for yourself, and give all of that back. Give all of that other energy that's not yours back, because that's what's
Yes.
stressing you out.
Yes, I have a story I want to share about this.
Mhm.
And this story helped me realize that energetic boundaries and physical boundaries are different for me, and energetic are so much, I feel like, more important for me to learn how to do really well or learn it
Mhm.
better. So it was last Thanksgiving and I was going home and I had like planned the trip and then I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to do it. So it was one of those things that took me a couple of days of like talking to my roommate. I'm like, I really don't want to go, but blah blah blah. She's like, just don't, like, if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. And so it was like one of the times where I like finally just did what I wanted and stood up for myself. I was like, hey, not coming home. And like in between when I sent the text and when I received the other one, I felt so drained.
Mhm.
And I remember just thinking like, "Oh my god, I was just so awake and now I feel exhausted." And then I read the text and it was kind of an angry text. Like she was upset. And in that I even pondered that for days. I was like, "Wait, what just happened here? Like how did I just feel drained when I didn't even have like an interaction with this person yet?"
Mhm.
And so in my experience, it was I didn't have this like energetic boundary up, but like I just gave her my energy and I let her influence me energetically with her thoughts and her anger and her upset.
Mhm.
And I realized that, okay, like I got something to work on here. Like I just I don't want to be giving or allowing people to influence me energetically because I must just be open. I must be wide open from childhood, just letting everyone influence me. And like that also goes into
Mhm.
like, I don't want to upset people because then what if they say something? What if I feel something? And it's not even like I don't want to feel pain or upset. My thing is like, how long am I going to hold on to this thing for? Like,
Mhm.
this argument can affect me for days, weeks, months. And I just want to avoid that. So, like, that is my big life lesson is trying to learn these energetic boundaries, learning how to just let things go, let emotions go, let arguments go, let go of like what people might think of me.
Mhm.
It's been such a lesson.
Yes, because that's how it was for me. Same things would happen. And first of all, amazing to you, yay, for being able to say no and put yourself. Because I also know what that feels like as a fellow empath. That it's gross and disgusting, and we have to go through a lot of like mental planning and prepping in our mind, like to be able just to say a simple no, right? Just a simple no. Because again, we feel the reaction. We know what's gonna come out of it, and we take it on, and then we sit there and we eat in it for, like, weeks, and it's disgusting. So I completely understand you in this, but it is. The fact that you were aware and now you're in this practice, right? And energetic boundaries are very different, but for an empath, it's energetic boundaries. That's where we have to put it, and some of times, it's literally just having a thought saying, this is my choice. This is my decision, and I will not allow others to influence that. And it is coming into that awareness now of no matter their reaction, that's theirs. That has nothing to do with me. I said no, I'm standing in my truth. And guess what? That should be respected no matter what. No excuse needs to be given, nothing. And then whatever their reaction is a reflection of what they're going through. That is what it is. Maybe they're disappointed and they're allowed to be disappointed too. And that's okay. We send them love for that. But yeah, it's a process and it's something that, it same kind of, I mean, not exact same, but it's kind of the same thing I went through when I started learning the boundaries. It was little by little, doing the small things. And then I started noticing the more work I did is the less amount of time I held on to the heaviness after, right? So, like you said, it's how do they
Mm,
affect you and drain you? And I started noticing the more I worked on
mhm.
it wasn't as long the next time. Okay. And then the next time it was getting a little bit shorter and now I'm leading up and I'll hold it until I get a response. So I'm getting here and I'm getting eaten up until I get the response. No matter what the response is, usually afterwards, I'm like, oh, wait, I'm fine. Okay. I'm good. And I have to like go through my checklist. Like, am I okay? Is this mine? Is this theirs? And I've learned to like, okay, just send it back. That's not mine. And we leave it alone and move on. But it is a process and it takes a
Yes.
practice. It's a practice.
I was out at a festival, so many people, and my friend is like, "Hey, Lonnie, like, did you meet this person? Let me introduce you." And so when he introduced me to her, I immediately felt like a little bit anxious and like my throat felt like a little closed. And I remember just observing it. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting, right? I feel this way." And immediately I kind of just I felt like it was hers.
Uh-huh.
But I was so happy because, like, I just felt it and I let it go, whereas, like, typically it becomes, "Oh my god, my throat's closed. Oh my god, I'm shy. Oh my god, why am why am I doing this?" Like, identifying with the emotion that I feel, and so it was one of those really beautiful moments of, like, "I can do this. Like, I can
Yeah.
feel an emotion and just let it go. Like, this is nice. Like, it's not
Yes.
mine. I'm not clinging to it. I get to, like, move on." And but, like, also, it's like it's an evolution, it's a practice,
Yeah.
it's, it's beautiful to just
No,
experience.
I think you should get a whole round of applause for that because that's amazing. It really is. And same thing actually happened to me yesterday because once you said that, it reminded me of because in history's past, it's something that would have bothered me or affected my energy a whole day. I was at the gym. And again,
Mm.
I was in such a good mood. It's Monday morning. I got high vibes. I'm getting everybody pumped up because that's who I am. Obviously, I speak a lot. I do that a lot, even in the gym. And, someone came in and everything shifted and I could feel it. All of a sudden, everything just went, ooh, it went
Ooh,
down. Like
interesting.
almost I could feel, but and now I know when that happens, I know it's not me anymore. I know where I was. I'm very aware of, my own space now. But I recognized exactly who it was, what they were feeling. And that's part of what I can do now. I could tap in and I'm like, okay, they're going through this, this, and this is where they're at. But I had to really kind of work for a minute and I had to push it out. I'm like, nope, this doesn't affect my level. And I had to do my own pushing. And then I was back up into my high space because I'm like, nope, you're not going to affect me. And in fact, I'm going to try to bring you up. So I was still loud, like, how you doing? Like getting all, yeah. So,
Wow,
oh,
that
mhm.
deserves a round of applause,
That's a
and
lot of
it's
work too.
something that yes,
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about is, like, how do I still be myself? Like,
Mhm.
outgoing, energetic, even when I feel the heavier things. That's something I've been really working on.
It's again, it's a practice and see. Okay, so
Yeah,
for me, and when you say that, because I've seen my process, I took a lot of
yeah.
time in noticing it was kind of something an experiment I played with energetically, right? So when I came more in this awareness of my awakening and energy and my empathic, because I worked really hard on this empath side, was I started noticing going to places and how like some people are really dense, kind of low vibrating, and they like to talk a lot of negativity. And then how do I
Mhm.
keep in myself? And then when that happens, my natural reaction, because of how I was brought up, was to kind of sink. I had to sink with where they were at. So I had to come back down and I
Yes,
had to sink with them, right?
yes,
Because it's, we become that chameleon as empaths, right? We become that chameleon,
yeah.
like we're going to fit in, we're just going to go at their level. Well, I started playing. I'm like, no, but that's not who I am, and that's not where I am. So I would come in a lot higher. And something I started noticing was, um, especially when I was in the group, I would see a few people, like, they so appreciated that because it helped them get out of where they were. So I'd be talking my high vibes, and they would talk about a story, and I would just bring my different positive perspective on it because 'cause they're like, "Blah, blah, blah, this is happening." I'm like, "Did you ever think about this? Like, this could be happening because of this, and, let's spin it." It's all perspective, right? And I would start noticing certain people are like they really liked it, and you could see that they were getting more attracted to me, like, in the like, energetically, like, "Ooh, I like that energy." So, they were kinda, like, grouped away from the lower vibes and then would come and hang out here. And the thing is, you can't change someone's
Wow.
energy. So, whoever's in those negative, it's kinda like you're gonna draw more light and those into your vibration like a moth to a flame. They're gonna come to you if you stay in that vibration. And those that are at a denser, like heavier energy, those with those negative, thoughts and perspectives or wherever they're at, they're going to start separating themselves. And that's okay. Remember, as an empath, because we want to please everybody, get out of it. And again, practice. You are not going to please everybody. And you need to understand you are not going to please everybody. And if you do, you are giving all of your power and your energy away, and you're going to be drained and you're not aligned with who you are. Stay exactly where you are and watch the energy around you and the people filter out the energy. You'll start drawing those amazing people and you're going to filter out who isn't, which I did. So Lottie and I, we met at a podcast conference, other way around, and I played with this the entire time at that. I would stand true in who I was, and I started noticing. Well, I remember one gentleman,
Wow.
he came up and asked, "What podcast do you do?" And I told him who I was and what I did. Immediately, he was like, "Nice to meet you." Very nice, though, very nice, and like left. It doesn't bother me anymore because I know exactly who I am and I know where other people are at. I'm like, "Okay, he's not there," and I said it was fine. He was very polite. But then other people, I would start noticing I'd sit back and I would look and scan. I would scan a room and I would just go who I feel like. I just feel this pull in my chest. So I would just go towards these people who I was drawn to. And they would ask, "What do you do?" And I told them, everybody was like, "Oh, no way." And everybody was so excited and they had all the questions and we were so aligned. So it's okay when you don't align with someone. Let it go. Let it go. Let them be and find the ones you do, and you're gonna find that it is fueling you and it's fueling them, and it feels so much better.
I've been learning this recently too about maybe like the past year of starting my YouTube channel and like really talking about my
Mhm,
spirituality and everything and going through this huge fear of like what are people going to think of me? I'm probably going to lose a lot
mhm,
of friends. And like
mhm,
another thing that I've noticed is a lot of people don't really care. They don't really put that much time or energy into like trying to see what I'm doing or talking about to like judge me. They're just like out doing their own thing. So
mhm,
it really is this like repelling the people that don't really
mhm.
align and attracting the really amazing people who do align where you can talk about all this stuff with and like just keep leveling up and having so much fun and exploring spirituality.
Exactly, and it's something I learned during my awakening too. So, for anybody too who's been afraid, like, I'm gonna lose people, whether it is a relationship or whether it is friends or family, like, I trust me, I know this. But the fact that you can be brave enough to talk about these things, and in a way that you need to approach this in a loving way, because this is how you draw to you, again, the loving people. If you are talking to people as a challenge or in spite or trying to get people to believe what you
Mm,
believe, this is not gonna be good. You're not gonna get good reactions. It's gonna feel even worse. But if you can just stand in your truth, this is just me. This is what I believe. And I have found either the ones who feel ew and icky, they separate themselves. That's okay. It was meant to happen. That means that relationship lived out what it was supposed to. They're gonna go their way and I'm gonna go mine. And you know what? I sent love to it, and it doesn't matter what they thought. I send love to it because it was scary when I did it. And then I found again other people, whether I would draw more people to me in alignment, and it was beautiful. But the other thing is that the people who may have had a certain maybe reaction to what you did or not sure, the more I stood in my truth, the more I started speaking this. Even years after, I'm noticing them now asking questions, coming more in alignment, or all of a sudden they're listening to my podcast that people I'd never even expected, because their reaction was so heavy before. Because they, again, have to work through their own stuff. But the more in alignment
mhm.
of what we do, seeing how happy and at peace, and if we're literally raising our love vibration, right? Love is the highest vibration it's the highest vibration that exists. They don't understand it and they don't have to make sense of it, but they feel it. And then they're like, but she's doing it. How do I feel that? Whether it is getting in line with beliefs, that part doesn't matter. But they see, like for me personally, it was my healing, my self healing. Like she really talks about these emotions. She is honest about, what she's gone through. And so Lonnie, like what you spoke about, I did a lot of that in my first season of my podcast. So I have About Healing podcast. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was so afraid of judgments. I worked through that so much in that first season. Like, I did full episodes, I did You Are Worthy, and that was about me and what I was going through. I mean, I cried on my podcast several times, by the way, because it was me releasing these fears. It was understanding that you're aligning yourself, and the more I keep aligning myself, it's the more that keeps getting drawn. And all of a sudden, people are listening more. And the more I get to meet amazing people like you, Lonnie, and get to be a guest on other people's podcasts because I was brave enough to not only find my truth, but then to speak it. And that takes extreme courage for anybody. So that was for me giving myself props because I have come a very long way. And because I also work on my self love, that I'm going to give myself that for a minute. But this is also that inspiring encouragement because Lonnie, you are doing it also. And you're aligning yourself and you're brave enough to have these conversations. And for anybody else who is listening, you too, because if you're listening, you're already on that path and that awareness, and it is a process and it is stepping outside of that comfort zone and being vulnerable because that's how you get that's healing and that's part of growth, and you have to do the hard stuff to get there. Oh, facing those fears. Oh my gosh, I know, scary,
Thank you
scary.
so much. That was so beautiful. And for the people who are listening right now, it's so worth it to face the fear.
Mhm.
It's so worth it. And something that's really helped me is having like those one or two people who I know, like, no matter what happens, these people love me. Like, I could talk to
Mhm.
them anytime, any day,
And it really
whatever it is.
takes at least that one person, to have a person that you can fall back on that loves you. When you having a safety net helps, especially when you want to be brave and do these scary things and be vulnerable, because you do need a support system. I didn't do this alone, and you, like you just said, you didn't do it alone. I also have a support system. I have beautiful, amazing people in my life, including like my husband. My in-laws are amazing supporters, and they always have been. I have family and friends that it without them, I would not have been brave enough. And it's true. I would not have been brave enough. And so find your support system. You do not have to do this alone, nor, I mean, maybe you can do it alone, but I have a very strong intuitive feel that you need other people. It's okay to lean on people.
Mhm.
It's okay to ask for help. It is okay to go to that person you trust saying, I'm really scared. This is how I feel, and I really want to do something brave, because you need cheerleaders. Have them cheer you on. Absolutely. Speaking of cheerleaders, I think this is I feel like a really good place. I really, really want to talk about something for anybody going through this. So, talk about being brave and, you know, doing things that you've dreamt about that you didn't even think were possible. Like Lonnie said, I have only been working as a medium professionally for 3 years, which it's funny. She asked me and I'm like, that it's only been 3 years. I feel like it's been a lifetime, but okay, we put a number on it. So much has happened. Um, but next year in April 20th of 2024, I am beginning my first annual About Healing retreat. This is something that I have felt guided to. I have had vivid dreams about. This is a huge step in the evolvement of my purposeful work. And that's what I call it. I'm a full-time medium. I do all the things. It's amazing. But this is a place and a time and space where I am drawing other light workers into one place. This is so we can all plug in together to recharge our lights. As a light worker, you are ones that are meant to make a difference in this world. You are sensitive. You know you're healed to make a difference. You feel like you want to heal everybody. You're a nurse, a teacher, a parent. Uh, You do what we do. It doesn't matter. You're in customer service and hospitality. It doesn't matter the professional role you take, but it is a feeling of those who are attracted. This is a day of self-healing. We are here to support each other. It is about I'm having it at JW Marriott in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It is a complete day full of gourmet food. There are workshops and we have guest speakers coming in, other amazing light workers here to again to recharge your light and get you out of your own way. For us to later not only having our own, wellness, because this is a wellness day that we are doing spa services or there's so much. You can go to the website and find out more. Registration opens soon, but also networking. We'll have a keynote speaker, gourmet three-course dinner, and networking. This is how we build a community of those on those like vibrations. This is going to be such a high vibrating event and place that we're going to be leaving ready to create these bigger ripple effects. We're going to leave and again, we're going to keep going and we're going to keep spreading our light and we are going to inspire other people and continue to do the work and maybe come back together on a yearly basis and keep recharging to keep spreading that around. So, if you want information, it's on my website about healing medium, and there's a tab for the retreat. So,
Thank you. And I'll link everything below too. So
Lonnie,
thank
I just wanted
you.
to say thank you so much for allowing me to have these conversations. Again, these are really deep and beautiful conversations that I do feel more people need to hear. And I think you're doing amazing work. So I, as a fellow light worker, as a fellow empath, and as somebody who has been doing and working on this self-healing journey, the same as you, this is me telling you that you are doing amazing and you are inspiring and I feel this connection and I feel like I'm proud of you and I feel like I need to we just met and we hardly know each other but I can say that I am proud of you because I feel it on that soul connection that you need to we all need to hear this sometimes to keep encouraging us to
Yes.
do this. So keep going and keep doing everything you feel and keep blasting it out to the world. Let's keep doing it.
Oh,
That ripple effect.
thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I I was listening to another one of your podcasts and you were talking about intention.
Mhm.
And is this something really hot for you? Really like alive and something
Oh.
that is exciting for you right now?
Intentions, yeah, so
Setting
everything is about the
intention.
magic, right? I've been talking about magic,
Yeah, the magic.
right? So this is part of a little series that, the second one is coming out today, the day we're recording. Whenever this goes out, at least when we're recording it, it's coming out. But, we're talking about real life magic, and sometimes we forget how amazing and how simple that actually is. We think witches and we think about making potions and while first of all, it's beautiful. I love all witchy things, but it has a bad rep and we think about it in different aspects. Like no, it's beautiful. It's light. It's amazing. For anybody who is a practice witch or call themselves that, praise to you. Let's start getting into nature. I'm all about green witches and nature and all the things, but intentions is part of it. So intentions is a step into manifesting, which is episode coming soon, um, where having a thought and creating a plan of what you actually want it's an energetic line that we put into the universe. Intentions are extremely powerful because it is the first stage of creating what you want. Because how not only that, but it changes life in general because doing any daily task, instead of doing it on autopilot, like we do our daily chores, it's gross and ugh, I don't want to fold my laundry again. I don't want to do all this. Well, let's set a different intention with it this time. So let's say, today I want to fold my laundry because I am making my space clean. I want to make it easier for myself where I can put my stuff away so I can find it easy and I'm going to feel amazing. Everything is there and I get the choices because that day I'm going to be so proud that I did that. But it's setting an intention for something bigger than just doing it on an autopilot, these mundane things. Cooking, I think I gave that as a great example in the episode, but cooking. So you can cook on autopilot and you could be a great cook and it's fantastic. But if you cook with intention, That means cooking your meal, either whether it's for yourself or your family or whoever it is. I am cooking because not only do I love cooking or making this food, but I love the people I'm about to feed. This food is going to give them energy. This is going to make them healthy. This is just, I am giving them love and saying I love you by making this food. It changes the entire, not only the cooking experience for you, but it changes how the people receive what you just did too. Intentions is massive. So, for more on that, I suggest going to the episode and listening because I can go on again a whole other half hour and just redo the whole thing. But intentions, I do it every day. And whenever I find something that I don't like doing, or I set intentions every single morning. There is a difference. And my children do this too. They ground every morning because I have very sensitive children. My children ground every morning. We do it on the way to school. We put on spa music. They know to close their eyes and they are rooting and they're doing the thing and they're
Oh,
bringing in the white light. And then they set their intentions because when the days we do that, we all have amazing days. With the days where
oh.
we know there's so much going on, like for me, oh my gosh, I have such a full schedule. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to start this like, oh, I got to keep up, I got to do all these things. It's no, today's a great day. Not only am I going to get this stuff done, but it's going to be fun doing it. I'm going to create amazing new opportunities. And I'm even going to have time for myself by the end of the day. And every single time I have never regretted it. And it has always become something more. There is a difference on the days you set them and when you don't.
I love this.
Yeah.
Wait, I have two things to say.
Uh-huh.
One, I feel like you were just saying how proud you were of me, and then I totally just like
Uh-huh.
glossed over. I was like, wait, like I have another question. And I just want to say thank you. Just like take a moment to back up and like be like, wait a second, I received this.
Good for you. Empath is
And
hard to take a compliment, so good for you.
I know, and I was in my head like, I gotta think of the next question. I gotta keep this conversation going. And I appreciate it. I appreciate that. It is so hard for me to like be proud of myself. That's actually something I've been working on. That is an intention that I have been setting daily of recognizing when like I talk to people and sometimes I'm like embarrassed of what I do, like it's never good enough and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but it could be better. I could have different conversations or I could have more followers and blah 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 blah. So then in my head, I'm like, the next time I have this conversation, I'm gonna be proud of myself. I'm gonna be proud of my accomplishments. And like that is an intention. And on to the intention topic, my absolute favorite intention to set ever is I let go of all the things I think I want for that which will bring me the most fulfillment. Because I've realized that what I really want in life is to feel fulfilled. Like sometimes I get so distracted of like I want a boyfriend or like I want more money or I want to have
Mhm.
a really nice body, right? Like these all like very typical things that most people want and sometimes I get them and then I'm like, "Wait, I just want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel
Mhm.
good. I want to feel grateful. I want to feel loved."
That is so powerful. That is hugely powerful because that is something I don't know. I just did this. I don't know if it was a podcast. What did I do? I don't know. I had this conversation at one point. I remember writing this down very recently. Um, but we have to go into the reasons why we want something, right? Oh, it's the
Mm.
episode that's being released today. That's where it is. I'm like, where did I just talk about this? And it's about goals and dreams, by the way. It's about getting to those, which is not only do you need to know what you want, but why? Like you said, whether you want a boyfriend or, you want this body, but why? Why? Keep asking yourself why until you can get to this root belief in underneath it. Because normally you'll find, just like you already determined, it is about being fulfilled and being at peace, and it is about feeling like you can stand true in yourself, to feel adored, to feel wanted, to feel, I guess, healthy and beautiful and all of these things. But sometimes when you really want that feeling, it changes what you actually want. Maybe to get there. And if you just want to feel loved and you want to feel safe or whatever that is, instead of the boyfriend and getting it from someone else, and now it's, you know what? No, we need to work on this self healing piece because that's what's going to bring me there. And the thing is that you are going to attract where you're at. So if you have out there, and I don't know why, but I feel like this is a great place to put it. I feel so drawn to talk about it. For those who are trying to draw that relationship, just know you are going to get what you're putting out. So if you're in a place that you're feeling insecure and or lonely or something like that, and so you're wanting a relationship and finding it to fulfill that hole, you're going to get that in return, which means you're probably going to get someone just as insecure and you're going to bring this imbalance, or it's going to start triggering you in other places. And you're going to find this is not an appropriate relationship, or it's imbalanced, or whatever it may be. Because again, it's the reason why you're going into it. When you get to a very happy, stable, amazing place, you are also going to attract that in return. So what you put out, you get back. Always remember that. That's huge when we're talking about energy and manifesting coming soon. Uh, yeah, thought I had something else, but it's gone. It's lost. I don't know.
uh, yeah.
Oh, I do remember. Lonnie, you were talking about how amazing it was and that you were working on, taking these compliments. It is very hard to take compliments when you're an empath because you've always put other people first. And this also
Mhm.
goes with an understanding and practicing self-love. And I love that you said you've been practicing that. And I'm just going to throw that out there, whether it is for you or anybody else. I have a whole episode on self-love too, and understanding and breaking that down, because at some point we felt guilty or shame or whatever it was to put ourselves first, or to where it feels icky and it feels gross to receive a compliment, or even for us to compliment ourselves. And it is
Mhm.
powerful what you did, because when you again, it's just I'm encouraging you, and everything you said, it's beautiful, but your power in creating what you want is in the present. So, and I tell this to a lot of my clients too. Whenever you get to that point when you look at your progress and you're not where you want to be, oh, but I don't have the right numbers. I want more and I need this, and I'm not where I want to be, right? I've been working out, but I don't have the body that I see it, right? Bring yourself to present. And the best thing to do to get yourself in that better state is look backward. Don't go backwards. I don't want you to put yourself in the past, but I want you to take a minute and I want you to glimpse, and I want
Yeah.
you to see how far you've come, because your
Mhm.
power is now. You have done so much work
Mhm.
already in probably a very short amount of time. This is where you're at. And this is where you take that pride. Like, holy cow, that's amazing. And now we set those new intentions because you've done that work. New intentions. Okay.
Mm.
So let's make these new steps and work on this so that I can get to the next step, into that future self that hasn't been created yet. Step by step. Always look backwards to bring that pride to where you're at now. Don't go backwards. Don't ever go backwards, because your past brings, if you're living in the past, that's depression. Depression is living in the past. Anxiety is living in the future. Live presently, and you're going to be more, you're going to be more in your power and creating exactly what you want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. It is amazing to look back on my life maybe 10 years ago and to see how far
Mhm.
I've come. It's really it blows my mind.
Yeah. I have to do it too. I do it too. And I just did it recently. I remember thinking, I had my, all of a sudden I recognized it very quick. I can recognize it quickly now. I get in those spaces like, but I don't have this, this, and this. Why isn't this big enough? Why this? Because I feel the energy behind things. And my guides always come in and tell me, whoa. And they tell me, take a deep breath. And so I do. And they're like, look at where you're at. Look at the
Mm.
amount of time that's passed, and look what you've accomplished. And right there,
Mhm.
it always takes my breath away because I always forget that part. Holy cow. I have
You
come.
really have you really have accomplished so much. the
Right.
the fact that you're a mother and you have a podcast and you're a medium, like I'm like, how do people have so much time? Like
Oh,
you've
that,
done so much.
thank you.
You
So
and like
it's
you're
a hard
like
thing.
you're here representing your community and like you're going first and like you've been through so many of your fears and it's really beautiful.
It's a day by day thing. Thank you very much. I hear that. So I'm going to say thank you very much. Um, and actually, and it's actually more than that. So I have actually officially, I have About Healing LLC, which is my umbrella, purposeful work. And underneath that, I do have a podcast. I have a weekly podcast.
Mhm.
That's a lot of work. I also have a shop. I have my own personal clients. I do workshops. I now have the retreat. I do a monthly newsletter. I mean, I have all my social media accounts. It's a lot. Oh, yeah. And I'm a full-time mom. Yeah, I do the mom thing
Uh-huh.
too. That's right, and I have a husband, and I have always wanted to bring balance in this, and here's one thing I'm gonna share with anybody who feels like they don't have enough time to go for their dreams, because we're really afraid of the imbalance. Where you
Mm.
choose to put your time is a choice, and they have always told me that. No matter what opportunities come in, because that has always been I feel the energy behind my work that I'm supposed to go really big and spread and send messages really far, and I've always been very hesitant on allowing this to be what it's going to be, because I want to be home and I want to be present for my family. I still have young children.
Oh.
I want to be a present mother. I have a very good, marriage. I want that to stay, and I want to make sure I'm putting that time into that. Again, my guys have always said, it is a choice. No matter what comes in, you make the choice on where you get to put your energy. So, and I don't do it alone. I now have a team. So I have a producer that helps me with the podcast. She does all my editing. She's the one who puts it out for me. She is amazing. I couldn't have done this without her. Thank you, Copper, for anybody who listens. I know because she's on my podcast too. And I just actually added another person, my Rachel. She is now my backbone and my behind the scenes girl with About Healing LLC, helping me with all the other things because I can't continue to do the things that only I can do if I'm doing all the small behind the scenes. So ask for help.
Mhm.
That's how you do it. Ask for help and recognize that you control where you put your time. You are as busy or not by choice. Everything you allow into your life, where you put your time is a choice. And I say that because this has been my huge lesson and what I have been putting so much time and focusing on as my work grows because this is full time. But I try to be as present as I can with my kids when they get home from school. So, I do what I can during their school hours, and then when my husband is home, and then I rotate weekends when I do different events and things like that. So it's just making space.
A question that I love to ask all of my podcast guests is if you could send one message to every person in this world, what would that message be?
Oh, that's easy. I say it in every podcast episode. It is to be kind to yourself because that is what changes everything. When you can learn to be kind to yourself and bring that inward, not only are you doing it for yourself and changing the vibration outward and how you see everything, but you are inspiring generational lines to start putting themselves first, to start taking care of themselves, which then is we're starting to break these old ways. Be kind to yourself.
Thank you so much. And where can people find you?
Ooh, abouthealingmedium.com is my website and all of my social media accounts. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I just started TikTok. Bear with me. I also have YouTube, and all of my handles are at About Healing Medium.